Welcome to Grismold, Bigfoot. As far as our opening hand goes, yes, we're going to keep on this one. We've got Heartless Summoning, we have Umbra, we have Night's Whisper, which is going to be very nice for the deck. That way we can cash in some card draw. And greater good. It's always nice to be able to cash in some extra card draw once we kind of get a really nice Grismold on the battlefield. I'll kind of explain why we do have greater good in the deck here in just a second. So let's go and lead off with Wooded Foothills. There we go. Let's go and crack Wooded Foothills. Let's grab ourselves Overgrown Tomb, have that come into play tapped, and yeah, nothing for one, so we're simply just going to go and pass the turn over to our opponent. We're playing Grismold, the Dreadsower, or might look a lot like Get Rock Hypnotoad, and it might be. Maybe he's put some pretty good Hypno on you, who knows. Anyway, we're playing Grismold, the Dreadsower. Trample at the beginning of your end step. Each player creates a 1/1 green plant creature token. Then, whenever a creature token dies, put a +1 counter on Grismold, the Dreadsower. Playing against Azusa Lost but Seeking, you may play 2 additional lands on each of your turns. So run into Foul Orchard. Let's go for Swamp, and let's just straight up just go for a Night's Whisper. Heartless Summoning is nice in the deck, but since we do have a converted mana cost 3 commander, we're just going to hold on to it at this point right now until we build up a little bit of a better token army. So that way, if we do draw into one of our Enchantress pieces, we can at least get that down and start to cash in some card draw. So, we did cover both of our commanders. Let's give a quick shout out to our sponsors, MTGOTraders. If you build your very own Grismold Forest deck, head on over there. They've got all the necessary pieces for you to have some fun and get a lot of tokens down and kill those tokens and get a lot of counters on Grismold. And we'll finish that. Ooh, Winding Constrictor. Okay, so I think at this point we just straight up just go for Grismold. That's going to be pretty good because that way we just want to start putting some pressure in on our opponent. So let's have Grismold enter the battlefield and then anything else kick it back over to our opponent. Also, shout out to inkgaming.com. If you want to check out my merch booth, I have a merch booth set up over there. Go to the website, type in Jolt539. You can see my play mats and my t-shirts, or you can simply just use coupon code JOLT to get 10% off anything on the website. So treat yourself if you haven't treated yourself in a long time. And last but not least, I started a Patreon. So if you'd like to contribute to the Patreon, there's a link down in the description below. Get your name at the beginning or the ending of the credits and support the channel so I can make cool content like this. And if you can't do that, hey, no problem. Just tell somebody about the channel at your local gaming store or online. Either way, that's going to be supporting the channel. So now that it's officially free time, we can have some fun. And this, I didn't realize they did a kitty cat version of Ancient Stirring. So that's kind of, I didn't see what that card was for a second. So that's pretty cool. And let's see what we draw into for the turn. Drawing into Golgari Charm is very nice draw. So let's go Foul Orchard. That's going to enter the battlefield tapped. I think at this point we could go for not Vraska's Contempt. Yeah, I think we still just end up going Winding Constrictor, because, if we're playing against something that had some spot removal, I'd be tempted to get the Umbra down on Grismold, but at this point, I think we just go Winding Constrictor, because that's really just going to allow us to amplify these tokens out. So, let's have Winding Constrictor enter the battlefield. Let's go and push in for 3 with Grismold. And then next turn, we'll be able to set up a very nice Golgari Charm. Swinging for 3, that's going to knock them down to 27 unless they block with the plant token, which are probably not. And anything else, we're going to go and pass the turn over to our opponent. So with Winding Constrictor, one of the cool things about this is once we go for Golgari Charm, Grismold does trigger for each creature token that does die. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. That should be 8 tokens that we get to put on Grismold simply just going for a Golgari Charm. So that is a pretty nice feeling. We'll see if we hit the land drop for the turn. If we do hit the land drop for the turn, we might go for Treefolk Umbra. We do have Druid's Call in the deck, which is one of my favorite cards to run in any sort of Voltron deck, because whenever it's dealt damage, we get that many 1/1 green squirrel tokens, which is it's a pretty good feeling. I enjoy it very much, and I don't know, it's just a lot of fun. It also kind of puts us on theme with our tokens. Being able to, if they deal damage, say they do end up blocking on Grismold, trying to stop that trample damage, getting those squirrel tokens to fall out of Grismold is a very fun feeling. So, opponent taps out for Oracle, which is going to be a very good for us. Hopefully, we can get in a pretty good turn this turn, and then we run into Soul Ring. So, I still think at this point we just straight up go Golgari Charm, because we can go Golgari, and actually we can still end up going Treefolk Umbra. Yeah, let's do it like this. So we go Soul Ring. Well, if Soul Ring enter the battlefield, we're going to go for Treefolk Umbra onto Grismold. And that'll leave just enough mana to go for Golgari Charm. So at this point, what we might end up doing is we might just basically swing with the Grismold, and then see how they declare blockers, and then go for this Golgari Charm. I think I kind of like going for that. So let's go and push in with Grismold. It's going to be a 3/5 coming across. We'll go for this Golgari Charm, but we're going to be able to stop anything. So let's go Golgari Charm. All creatures get -1/-1. And this is where the deck really shines. Let's go and always yield to these Grismold triggers. Oh, look at that, getting it for 10. Okay, that's going to put them down to 15. 15 total commander damage, and then anything else we're going to go and pass the turn. So now this is the reason why we have Greater Good in the deck, because we are looking at Grismold sitting at an 11-13. And one of the cool things about running something like Greater Good is that it does fit on our Enchantress game plan, but at the same time, let's say our opponent has some sort of board wipe or worried about some sort of spot removal. We can cast Greater Good, cash in some of that card draw from our Enchantress pieces, and be able to sacrifice Grismold in response to any sort of trigger or sort of spot removal our opponent may have. Now, on top of our opponent's library is Kozilek. So they're going to have to get something done this turn to stop Grismold. But we do have Rascal's Contempt, which is going to be a nice effect. So we can at least kind of stop Kozilek, other than them being able to draw a bunch of cards. But, you know, in 1 versus 1, Grismold is really good. You can see we've got all the counters on Grismold right now. In a multiplayer setting, I'd still run Grismold in a multiplayer setting. It's just... it's so easy to get an 11-13 trample on the battlefield, so you can really start to threaten people with commander damage, especially if you're running Tainted Strike. I am running Tainted Strike in here, and that just allows you to kind of steal some wins, or in a multiplayer setting, allow you to just kind of steal an opponent out of the game really quick. But either way, it's fun. If you've never built a deck like Grismold, I highly recommend it, because being able to get this big creature on the battlefield, then supplement that with a lot of card draw from an Enchantress package is some good magic right there. So, and also when you're playing to get, all right, Poto's going to scoop it up on this one, so we're going to be able to get the Grismold family Christmas tree swinging in. So definitely count that one as a win. And you know, you can see we were playing against Azusa. They had a fully stocked Eldrazi board state ready to go, but with Grismold simply just going for an Golgari Charm to get all those +1 counters on there. When you have that amplifying effect, let's say we had something like Hard Scales on the battlefield too, to make it even more. So you can see where the amount of +1 counters that you get on Grismold is very quick, very fast. And you know, like I mentioned, you know, just going for Greater Good to draw 11 cards is some good magic. So anyways, if you enjoyed your time in the forest of Grismold and you saw Bigfoot, like and subscribe. Thanks. Bye. Welcome to Grismold, the Dreadsower. As far as our opening hand goes, we have Golgari. Yeah, we'll keep on this one. I actually like this. We've got an Enchantress card draw piece. We've got some card draw with Read the Bones. We've got Momentous Fall, which is pretty much a backup for some card draw in case of a board wipe. But yes, as far as this opening hand, I love it. We also have Spider Umbra. And you may be sitting there saying, man, this deck looks a lot like Gitrog Hypnotoad. It's not, but maybe. Maybe it is. Maybe Hypnotoad has put a little bit of extra Hypno in there. You're not really sure who it is, but I think it's Grismold. Anyway, welcome. Let's have some fun. We'll crack the Catacombs on our opponent's turn. Let's go and cover our commander. We're playing Grismold, the Dreadsower. Trample. At the beginning of your end step, each player creates a 1/1 green plant creature token. And actually, yeah, we'll just go and crack this. That way we can cover both commanders and grab ourselves that... there we go, Overgrown Tomb. Have that come into play tapped. Not going to pay 2 life, and then we're going to go and pass the turn. But yes, this is pretty much Gitrog Hypnotoad right here. And it's fun to have another kind of clone deck of a deck that you've already built, because this just works out perfectly. So we're going to have Trample, we're going to get those tokens, and then whenever a token dies, put a +1 counter on Grismold, the Dreadsower. Playing as Chromium, the Immutable. Flash, the spell can't be countered. Flying, the discard a card until end of turn. Chromium becomes a 1/1 hexproof human. There we go, can't be blocked. So... and Chromium is actually a very fun commander. I highly recommend it if you haven't built it. So let's go for Woodland Cemetery, and then nothing else. We're going to go and pass the turn over to our opponent. So we did cover both commanders. Give a quick shout out to our sponsors, MTGOTraders. If you want to build your very own Grismold or Gitrog Hypnotoad deck, head on over there. They've got all the different forests that you may need to make a... pretty crazy forest scene. And also, let's give a quick shout out to ingaming.com. If you want to head over there, check out my merch booth. I do have a merch booth set up over there. You can use coupon code JOLT to get 10% off the website on anything, or just type in JOLT539 to see my t-shirts and my playmats. And last but not least, I started a Patreon. So if you'd like to contribute to the Patreon, there is a link down in the description below. Get your name at the beginning or the ending of the credits and support the channel. And I would greatly appreciate it. And if you can't do that, hey, no problem. Just tell somebody about the channel at your local gaming store. That's another way you can help support it. So anyway, officially free time. We can have some fun. And we're playing against a friend of the channel. So shout out to our opponent, Krytak. I think that's how you say it. That's how we're going to roll with it for the video. So, all right, so we draw into Wasteland. Yeah, at this point right now, opponent's not off to really that crazy of a start. So I think I do kind of actually like going for Grismold. So we're going to go and get Grismold down. That's going to get the +1 counters going. Not the +1 counters, but the snake tokens going on our opponent's side of the battlefield. But thankfully, we do have Golgari Charm, which is a wonderful, wonderful card for the deck. Running a lot of -1/-1 effects in your deck really helps build this awesome Grismold. So, but we did cover both commanders, we covered sponsors. It is officially free time. So let's talk about Grismold. Or if you're a fan of the vacation movie series, the Grismold Family Christmas Tree. It's one of our favorite Christmas movies for our family. It's Christmas Vacation. So if you haven't seen it, be sure to check it out. Now, as far as this deck goes, like I mentioned, this is basically just a clone of Get Rock Hypnotoad. The only other difference is that we do have a kind of a sub theme of -1/-1. You want to be able to keep these tokens off the side of the battlefield because once you get these tokens gone, you start to get those +1 counters on Grismold. It is just it is just insane how many +1 counters you can get on Grismold, especially once you get down something like Hardened Scales to amplify those counters or something like Winding Constrictor. So pretty cool. And we're going to talk about the Enchantress part of the deck here in a second. So let's get our turn rolling for the turn. And I think I actually kind of like Forbidden Orchard. So if we end up going Eidolon of Blossoms, that's going to be a card draw, and then next turn we can start to cast some of our Enchantress pieces, something like Spider Umbra. So let's go for Eidolon of Blossoms. That's going to give him another token on the battlefield and really pump up Grismold. So there we go. We're going to get a colorless spirit token. And Forbidden Orchard, when you're running a deck with Forbidden Orchard, it always feels so good because, you know, as an opponent, you're sitting there saying like, all right, there's nothing good's going to come out of a free token for me. So let's have Eidolon of Blossoms enter the battlefield. That's going to be an additional card draw. And at this point, since they only have 2 tokens on their side, we can actually swing in and get in for some damage. And then the sort of black and red, yeah, it's destroy an artifact. So we're actually pretty good with this one because we just basically have a ton of enchantments. So let's go and push in with Grismold. The Grismold Family Christmas Tree, swing in for 3, and then we'll kind of talk about some of the other cool Enchantress pieces. So there we go. And actually, at this point, we can actually just go and swing in with the plant token too, because either way, we're going to get in for some damage. If they block on the plant token, that's going to be an additional counter on Grismold himself. Now, the core concept of the deck is getting as many aura enchantments onto Grismold as possible, and then using that amplifying counter effect, which ends up making a very unstoppable force, especially in 1 versus 1 commander. So anything else, we're going to go and pass the turn. We do have some really good cards in here. Some of my favorite cards from Get Rock Hypnotoad. We have Canopy Cover, which is going to basically make it to where Grismold can only be blocked by something with flying, and it also gives it basically Shroud. You know, your opponent can't target them, but we can still target the creature to put more auras on there. We do have Druid's Call. That way, if some damage is dealt to Grismold, we'll get some more 1/1 squirrel tokens on the battlefield. And it actually works out to where if we get those squirrel tokens, as you can see, we have Make Obsolete, stuff like Golgari Charm. We can use -1/-1 on those tokens to add a few more counters to Grismold. But as far as the kind of +1 counter package, we are running Hardened Scales in here, which is really good. That's definitely one of those. If you see it in your opening hand, pretty much going to be a keep as long as you've got, you know, basic necessity for an opening hand. So that's going to be Hardened Scales. What else? Oh, we actually do have Blade of the Blood Chief, which is just really good because it's 1 mana, 1 equip cost. We can get in on Grismold very cheaply and then just kind of just go to town. Now, here's the downside. Unfortunately, with that sword being on that spirit token, that does make it to where it is a 3/3, but we're not super worried about it at this point right now. Once we get Spider Umbra onto Grismold, and, well, actually, the downside is going to protect you from black and red. So, now, if we can somehow chain together, like 3 of these spells, creatures get -1, creatures get -1, that will dodge the sword trigger. But if they're going to swing in, then that's basically just going to clear the way for Grismold to start dealing some damage. So, okay, opponent opts not to swing in. That's probably a pretty good decision on that one. Oh, yeah, but as far as Chromium, I'll talk about Chromium here in a second, too, because Chromium, I need to play Ooh, well, there we go. Drawn to an answer, Assassin's Trophy. So, let's make the land drop for the turn. Let's go for Wasteland. So, if we're definitely going to go for Assassin's Trophy on Sword, yeah, we need to do that. So, we're going to go for Assassin's Trophy on Sword. Let's just go and get that out of the way. That way, we can kind of play in the rest of our turn. So, that does give them an extra lane. Kind of does put them towards where they can get Chromium on the battlefield. But at this point, we need to get in as much damage as possible. And then the fact that we can go for a -1/-1 to essentially clear the entire token board state, at least on our opponent's side. We can use Golgari Charm. That does hit Grismold, but we'll probably end up going for that because we're going to get rid of that spirit token. So let's see what they end up grabbing off of Enlightened Tutor. Okay, and our opponent's going to actually grab Silent Arbiter on top of their library, so I am definitely okay with that. We do need to find another piece of removal. We do have some... we have some other spot removal in here, so we'll find an answer for Silent Arbiter. But at this point, we can just basically just kind of clear the way for and actually, ooh, with Assassin's Trophy, since they put that Arbiter on top, they might have to shuffle that away in response to that land drop. All right, there they go. So I think that shuffled away because they put that on top. So a little bit of a sequencing error on our opponent, but hey, Sometimes that happens. Let's go for Forbidden Orchard. Let's tap down that green mana to make sure they get that spirit token. And we could try to go for Spider Umbra and then maybe cash in a card draw with Island of Blossoms. But since we need double black green for Golgari Charm, we're just going to jam that right now. So let's going to go for all creatures get -1/-1 until end of turn. This is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's going to be 6 tokens on the Grismold. And you can see that these trigger individually. So if we had hardened scales, that would just really amplify the entire board state out. But we have a very happy Grismold right now. So I'm going to get those counters on them. All right, let's go and push in for 8. And, Grismold is very, very good in 1 versus 1 commander. It's almost kind of like a little bit more of a fun Skullbriar. But the other cool thing is that, you just kind of end up with this huge Grismold. And I put a tweet out where it's piloting a Grismold deck is basically like kind of driving this weird bus. And if I remember, I'll try to put it in post-edit. But you could definitely run this in a multiplayer game. And you just get to the point where you have so many counters on Grismold. As long as you can protect Grismold, or you have other things to where you can actually get Grismold back on the battlefield. And I don't know, it's just it's one of those decks to whenever I saw Grismold get released, I'm like, yes, I need that in my life. And he does look like Bigfoot if you look at that. So I'm just going to go for Mana Crypt. I'm going to get that down. Other than that, we do have Greater Good in the deck. You want to have some sort of effects like that, Greater Good, Momentous Fall, because there is sometimes to where you're kind of putting all your eggs in one basket with Grismold. So basically just having the ability to kind of leave up 4 mana, because there's sometimes where, like right now, let's say we did an Island of Blossoms, we'd have a nice Grismold, but our opponent might be able to kind of stop that, or, where our playing its Esper colors, so they might have some sort of removal for Grismold. So at least having some sort of Momentous Fall, that way you can just cash in a ton of card draw. That way you can rebuild the board state very, very quickly, which is very nice. So drawn to Heroes Down. There we go. Heroes Downfall. So that'll work out. I think, first things first, let's just go and go for Spider Umbra and see what sort of... Go and tap down Forbidden Orchard, because we at least do have Make Obsolete online for our opponent. So let's go for Spider Umbra. They're going to get +1/+1. That's going to make it a 10. And then that's at least going to be a few more triggers. I think that might be commander damage if we... Oh, Fist of Ironwood. Okay. That's just basically going to give it trample. That'll give us an additional card draw, but also at the same time cut us off. Yeah, let's just go for Make Obsolete. So we're going to pay... and this is where it's fun, just getting rid of those tokens. Look at this. That's going to be another +1 counter on Grismold, and that's going to make it 12, and that should be enough commander damage, unless they have some sort of answer. So let's go and push in, and we're at least going to force the issue on our opponent, and swing in for 12, 14, and 15. So you can see it's turn 6, and we've got a 12-12 with 8 tokens. So, and we didn't really have that crazy of a start with an Enchantress card draw either, so it's pretty good to have this amount of power on the board this quickly. Okay, so we're going to see Chromium flash in here. We're still just going to go ahead and swing in with Grismold, because it's basically just going to have flash, and that's just going to be a block for a turn. So let's go and swing in with Grismold. That's going to be a 12-12 with trample coming across at our opponent. Okay, so we're going to see the block. Grismold's going to tackle Chromium over there, knock him out of the sky. That's going to be 16 total commander damage and put them down to 11. So anything else, we're going to go and pass the turn. We're going to be able to swing in for 12 next turn. They did tap out for Chromium, so they're going to get some sort of answer on the battlefield to stop this from coming in. We still have Fist of Ironwood to go for an additional card draw, so hopefully we'll run into that, maybe run into additional land, or if we simply just want to go for like Read the Bones, that'll allow us to kind of dig a little bit deeper. But I think we've... hopefully should get this one. They might have a board wipe. You never know. Outside of the Enchantress card draw, we do have, where is it? We are running 1 Tainted Strike in here. Tainted Strike, you are playing a green-black Voltron deck, so you need to have every answer that you can to try to win the game, and especially in a multiplayer setting. Tainted Strike, you can see it's sitting at a 12-12. We just pop that really quick, give it Infect, and especially if you're attacking somebody at the board that doesn't have any commander damage from you yet. You can just go for a quick little Tainted Strike, and... hey, is this good? Go for some infect damage, pretend you're Tom Ross for a turn, and close the game out that way. So that's one way you can kind of steal an opponent or steal the game. And it does work out really well. I'm not a huge fan of infect in Commander, but... it's just that card is so good, you might as well run it. I don't have it in here personally, but some other stuff like Hatred and Berserk. Actually, I might want to toss Berserk in here. Yeah, that would... I don't have it in here currently, but now that I've brought it up, I think that would be pretty good. But having some sort of tap out effect with that trample damage just makes it really hard for your opponent to stop the force that is Grismold. And really, once you just kind of use the Enchantress card draw pieces to really start kind of filtering through your deck, because we have the same core concept of a Gold Gary deck. You know, we've got removal, we've got ramp, and we've got mono black card draw. So when you add that Enchantress card draw, it just allows you to filter through your library so quickly, and simply just getting down something like Fist of Ironwood, where it already has trample, but you get those those sapling tokens on the battlefield, and that's another thing that you can sacrifice to put more +1 counters on Grismold. You get the +1 counters amplifying. Either way, it is a it is a very fun deck to pilot. I probably played about 4 or 5 games last night, testing it out and kind of fine tuning it. Okay, so our opponent's going to swing it, and actually with Cathedral of War, actually, yeah, we don't have Cathedral of War in the deck. That would work out in a Grismold deck, but there's a lot of times where you're trying to go double green, black green. We have a lot of, Golgari Charm, Assassin's Trophy, so you kind of want to be a little bit minimal on the amount of colorless lanes that you're running. Something like Rogue's Passage, I think it is in here. That's definitely a good addition to the deck because it just allows you to basically have an unblockable force. And but yeah, you don't want to go super heavy on colorless lands. So opponent's going to be swinging in for 3. It's going to be a mass trigger. That's going to be Sword of the Animist, and it's going to knock us down to 26. And this seems like a pretty cool Chromium build by our opponent. You're just getting like Esper equipment. And oh yeah, I was just going to say about Chromium is Chromium. If you haven't built Chromium, it's a pretty good commander. If you like it. And it's kind of one of those commanders where you can just kind of build like a cube commander deck, if that makes sense, to where if you have just whatever your best Esper colors are, Chromium's really going to enable any sort of game plan that you want to go for. And opponent's, building a pretty cool deck over here. So we draw the Tree Folk Umbra. And yeah, I think that's going to be pretty good. So we can just straight up just go for Hero's Downfall if we need to. So let's just go and leave that open. Let's go for Fist of Ironwood. That's going to put 2 more tokens on the battlefield, and that'll leave Hero's Downfall open. That way, if we do need to get rid of Pure Steel Paladin, we can. But at this point, that should be lethal commander damage. And especially if you hold up a piece of spot removal, with them having trample, you can basically just get rid of that creature, and it'd be good to go. So let's go for the Fist of Ironwood trigger. And I don't know, it just feels really good getting Fist of Ironwood onto Grismold because it kind of looks like that flower in his hand. So we're going to get an additional card draw. Let's see what we draw into. Hopefully it's the land for the turn. Vampiric Link. Okay. We're going to leave up Hero's Downfall. So let's go and push in with Grismold. The Grismold family Christmas tree. Swinging in for a 12-12. And we'll see how our opponent wants to block. There we go. Put them down to -1 and puts them at 25 total commander damage. Once again, shout out to our opponent for playing there. A friend of the channel, so it's always fun to get to play against people. And if you enjoyed the trip into the Grismold forest, hey, like and subscribe. Thanks. Bye.